Thank you very much, MFR, and thanks for having me. And then good morning to um, friends and colleagues on the show. Um, yes, I had the president, and I thought that the state of the energy sector as we have it today, and if the president had the opportunity to brief us on what is actually happening in the energy sector, he could have done a lot more to give us a better perspective on where we are as a country. What we have now is not just a challenge with payment to IPPs, but a composite challenges that we do have in the energy sector with fuel supply, with generation systems, and the rest of it, and how much all of that crystallizes into a fiscal challenge for our country. And I think that is where I saw a deficit in the presentation. If you look at how much government is supposed to put up cumulatively every month, is about 250 million Ghana cedis to be able to offset the inefficiencies in the energy sector. And all these payments are being made by the people of Ghana. So what that simply means is that when power is generated, transmitted, and sent to the distribution company ECG, almost half of what they're supposed to recover cannot be recovered. And therefore, Ministry of Finance has to intervene on a monthly basis to the tune of about 250 million Ghana cedis. That is the state of the energy sector. So what that means is that the money that we need to be able to pay other commitments like roads, health infrastructure, education, is being used to pay electricity bills. I don't think that is a rosy situation that anybody should celebrate, that government pays that much. And even that paying has become a challenge because the money doesn't even exist for government to always respond to that commitment. And what we see going forward is that it's even going to be much more difficult for us to meet those payment obligations because of the fiscal challenges that we do have. And I was expecting some pragmatic actions to really deal with this problem, to make sure that ECG can live up to its responsibility and save the public purse from this leakage, from this waste that we are actually experiencing in our country, and cut down on the optics that, only Bryce Simon describes it better, that, people can just wake up and tell us anything, and they expect that that is it, we should consume it, sort of enchanting all of us to go along a certain communication line, rather than the actual truth and situation on the ground. And that is a big problem for all of us. We have people stealing power, and we don't have a solution to it to be able to address the theft. And then you see the optics. ECG goes to stand before Parliament and say that I'm disconnecting Parliament. Even at one point, they were at Ministry of Finance to go and disconnect Ministry of Finance. When people are stealing power, but those you can actually account for, those you can see consuming the power, and then you can realize that in debt and chase them for the money. Those are the ones you are disconnecting and chasing them. And you look at the fact that the Ministry of Finance and government is paying up to 255 million Ghana cedis a month. You should even have the moral temerity to even go close to any government facility to want to disconnect.
Even if they are owing as much as 23 million, really, what are you saying? That if they are owing them, they should not go after them just because they can see the money? There are those they say that they cannot see. So the ones that they can see, shouldn't they go after them? 23 million was what Parliament was owing.
What you cannot see first. You have to prioritize your actions.
Okay.
You should go for what you cannot see. And forget about the optics for now, because government is even paying.
For you, it's all about the optics from what the ECG is doing. It's optics, you're saying? It's just for the optics?
That is what I'm seeing. That it is just the optics. They are not dealing with their own inefficiencies and their own lack of accountability to ensure that the power sector improves. And if you read even government reports, PURC's report on the cash waterfall mechanism, PURC consistently for the past 3 months have said that ECG is not complying with the cash waterfall mechanism, which is to ensure that everybody gets some money from what is collected. They decide to spend the money the way they want, rather than bringing the money into the pool for the money to be accounted for and shared according to a formula that has been approved. And PURC even says that the president himself directed that ECG should comply with the cash waterfall mechanism, and they have ignored the president. Right? And that is the state of the energy sector. And you look at their own spending inefficiencies. Let me give you some few examples where ECG in August 2023 tells the people of Ghana that their exchange rate was about 14 cedis to the dollar. And they bought $43 million from the banks at 13.95 to the dollar. That is equivalent to almost 80 million cedis of exchange loss. I don't think even Abuchis were charging $14 to the dollar in October 2023. All right. So this is the leakages that are engulfing the energy sector. And we expect that leadership deals with this problem and get people to be accountable and not siphon resources through these kinds of schemes.
Okay. Well, we
are not even learning that, recently they changed their billing systems and isolated it from the ECG corporate and gave it to a private sector. And that private sector is taking about 6% of all the revenues that are collected. And you look at ECG collecting upwards of about $1 billion every month. That is over 60 million cedis of our revenue going for just revenue collection. So you put those just exchange losses and the collection fee, you are in excess of 100 million Ghana cedis every month.
In all this, though,
sacrifices our budget to give to ECG to pay its bills.
Okay, but Ben, in all this, at least from the unstable power supply situation that we witnessed most part of last week, for instance, we've been hearing from the ECG boss offering that apology that many people were asking for and insisting that there was no need for a load shedding timetable because it was just a situation they had with Senate and that Dumso is not back. You deal directly, you have your ears on the ground, or your ears and eyes on the ground when it comes to the power situation in the energy sector. What really is the situation? Is Dumso lurking around the corner? Are we facing a crisis that we are not being told about?
No, I think they were load shedding, and on Super Morning Show, I gave, historical data on daily basis how much load we were shedding. And even in some instances, we're supposed to shed as close as 630 megawatts a day, particularly during the peak period. So the deficit was too significant for anybody to have come to the public and even tell the public that we are not shedding load. There is no challenge with generation, all right? And they expect the public to just consume that and go on with their lives. We have challenge with generation. Okay. Demand is expanding, and therefore the gas that we use to generate the power is not enough. So we need to have some stocks of liquid fuel to be able to bring on plants that can actually convert or use dual fuels so that they can have access to liquid fuels to be able to generate power. We didn't have stocks of the liquid fuels to bring them on. At the same time, we had some power plants going on maintenance. TICO is not generating as much as it should. It's been down. We had Sun Power also going out. But we have plants that could have stepped in if we had fuel to generate power. So we had significant deficit that had to be accounted for. And the way to even manage it was to sacrifice the exports, all right? So we're exporting to Togo, Benin, Burkina, and GRICO has been cutting supply to those countries so that they can reduce the impact of the deficit. And even if you discount that, we still had close to 300 megawatts of loads that were being shed, which needed proper communication to let the people know that we don't have enough generation, and therefore we're going to be taking out power. And we don't know how this is going to pan out in the coming days. If we don't get more gas from Nigeria, pay them on time for them to sustain supply, and also get some liquid fuel, this situation will persist for some time to come.
Okay, so your verdict is that the sector may not have been managed with discipline and expertise to avoid doom, so like the president mentioned.
No, I think the inefficiencies have been too graphic. Its impact on the budget. And we have done the analysis to show consistently, we've been talking about this, how much we spend in the energy sector. If you put the entire social sector together, roads, education, health, we are not spending anywhere close to how much we are spending to keep the light on. And that cannot be a disciplined management of the energy sector. It's been woeful, and I think the way to go is for us to address the problems and the challenges that we do have so that it doesn't persist and also drain the budget the way it is doing.